Hello, hello, beautiful people. Good evening or good morning, wherever you may be. Welcome to Global Hack Week or welcome back. Today we will be going over how to make a productivity app with Next.js. So, hello everyone. My name is Isa. I am a coach here at Major League Hacking. I use she, her pronouns. And a fun fact about me is that I've seen a lot of anime. Ooh, hi Sham. I'm glad to see you. It's nice to see familiar faces or familiar usernames, I guess. Awesome. So I would love to go over our agenda. So we will go over setting up our environment for Next.js. We will go over the basic design of what our app is going to be. And then we'll go over both front end and back end development within these 2 hours. So I have the slides. I will put them in the chat so you can have something that you can follow along. All of the code that I made with this, all of the code is on the slides, but I also will be doing it from scratch so that you can follow along and see if we catch any bugs or any versioning issues or whatever. We will know how to deal with them. Awesome. So these are the slides. I'll take a moment so that people can get on them. In the meantime, my favorite anime is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and One Piece is good, but it's slow, so I would suggest One Piece. Yeah, exactly. It's a big commitment. I would agree. Awesome. So I see a few people already in the slides. We will go on to system requirements. So this project is going to ask that you have Node.js installed, and whether you have a Mac, a Windows, or a Linux, as long as you have something that will work with Linux-based commands like WSL, you're good to go. I am expecting that you already know some JavaScript. There's fundamentals of React.js, like how to use components, and Tailwind CSS. But those, even if you're not very familiar with them, you can Google along or read through the documentation, put that on one screen and then your code editor in the other and work alongside. Awesome. If you have just come in, check out the slides so that you can catch up. We have just started with the system requirements. And yes, it is one pace. They made the episodes shorter so that you don't have as much filler or like pauses, like those kinds of things. There are animes about game developers, but there's also I know of an isekai that came out like last season or 2 seasons ago that was about a programmer that died and then used his programming knowledge to survive in the new world. So check that out. Anywho, we are good. I'm assuming everyone has their node. Everyone is checked for, or everyone is familiar enough with what I'm expecting but just in case you're not, React.js is a JavaScript library for building user interfaces based on components. Next.js, if this is your first time hearing about it, is built on top of React. So it provides server-side rendering and static website generation. So the first thing we're going to do now, I'm going to pause on the anime tangents just so we are a little bit more cohesive, especially for the folks who are watching this not live. But the first thing we're going to do is run this command, which is npx create next app at latest. What that's going to do, if we go to our, so this is the project that I completed to prepare for this, but this is what it's going to end up. But of course, you're feel free to style it however you want. I'm going to fix that before everything. Oh, it's because the server is down. See, so knowing the bugs as they arise, getting used to what errors you'll encounter helps you be a faster developer. So we have this is the project that we will be making today. Let's say create anime pro. Is it closed again? What's wrong? Because 3001 is already in use. So let's restart. npm run dev is how you run. We'll get there. But just to demonstrate, npm run JSON server. If you don't have WSL or know any JavaScript, you're very, very welcome to just watch, but also bookmark this for when you do want to know JavaScript and you already have WSL installed, since you're going to need them for the future anyway. Like if you are going in that path, this is a good like stepping stone. So if you can't follow along now, just bookmark the video, and I will save the VS Code theme on the slide maybe, or let's see if I can find it. There. No, it's not that one. It is that one. It's this one. How do you share? Copy or extension ID, or will be this. And then let's go back to, so this is what we have, and it can add, it can delete, it can update. And once you press calculate percentage, it'll calculate how much has been finished. If you delete, oh, that's what I was trying to fix. We'll create our own. So we had gone up to right here, npx create next app latest. And now that I've shown you what it's going to look like, to avoid confusion, we will now create another one. So we'll open my GitHub folder and create a new project. Call it, let's see, npx, and then you will be faced with these choices. One thing to note here is I had said no to the recommended app router because Next's app router is so new. If you encounter any bugs there, you might not have all the answers to those questions. So I had chosen against that just so we have as many answers to our bugs as possible. It's still updated enough because I think app router came out 2022 or 2023. Awesome. So I'm going to say MLH2, no to TypeScript, yes to ESLint, yes to Tailwind, no to source, no to app router, no to defaults, and then we'll let that load. Awesome. Lower the selected chat. Got it. Thanks. Or thanks for pointing that out. And we are set. Let me also do this in case that might be easier to read. I'm going to CD into our newly created project. And now I can get started with, okay, so this is our folder structure. In order to run our project after we CD'd into change directory into that folder, we are going to go to the terminal and say npm run dev. And I'm going to close, no, it's already closed. Awesome. And this is going to go to localhost 3000. Complaining a little bit, but I think we're good. So let's go to localhost 3000 right here. So this is the default that we have zoomed in. That's the default that we have. So we are now going into there. We are editing pages / index.ts. Sorry, not that. JS. It should be JS. Typo on my end, my bad. So we're going to pages and then index.js. So this is what we are editing when we use, or this is like the index.js that you edit in a React project, or the index of your HTML, but it's the main page that you will be editing. So going into, so that's all of our setup already done. We're going to go into the design. What we're going to need, the way that I broke this down is what we're going to need and how it's going to flow. So we're going to need a task component, which is going to get reused every time a new task is added. And then we have a view of all the tasks for the day. This was, I made the assumption that we would have the deadlines, like be able to filter by deadline, but within the 2-hour time span, I didn't think we'd be able to fit it. So this is going to be a stretch goal. The percentage of tasks already completed for the day, and then a completion screen celebrating 100% completed tasks. I don't think I finished that one either. So these three will be, Alt Shift 5. Yeah, exactly. So these are the three things that we will be doing. Task component, all of the views, and then the percentage of the tasks. And what will happen is the user gets asked to input their daily tasks, and then to maintain percent complete, they cannot add more tasks later in the day. We didn't, we won't be implementing that specifically, but percent goes up, motivating the user. This will still happen. Underline? Yeah. Okay. And then the basic design, as you saw in our, it's not the same one anymore. In our previous example, the percentage is going to go up top. You can add a new task, and then the list of tasks is in the bottom. Pretty basic. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. But in any case, I'm going to go into how to make the task component. So the code is in the slides, but I'm also going to explain. Okay, so I'm going to make a new page, a new file within pages. I'm going to call it task.jsx. My personal choice is to make JSX my components, and then if they become pages, I say .js, because that's usually where a lot of JavaScript functionality is going to be. Whereas if you have components, it's usually the styling that goes there. So going into task, I'm going to copy and paste that here, but no, I don't. Yeah. And then export default is there. So what's happening here is I'm creating a function called tasks, and it's creating, and it's using the props task, on task completion, and on delete. And then this is a function called handle checkbox change that just says if the checkbox is checked or clicked on, the status will also change on our database, which our database, we're going to make something show up on our screen before we're going to make them work. So I'm going to do this and then show you the JSON where we will be saving our tasks. Awesome. So what's happening here? So this line 7 is the Tailwind CSS. It's basically a CSS framework that allows you to put the class names within the line of text, like within the HTML. So you don't have to go back and forth between the CSS and the JS and then the CSS again. So it's all in line. And after you go through a few projects in Tailwind, the knowledge compounds. So the first time you're gonna have a learning curve, but after you're gonna memorize all the styles for the basic, like this is how to center align your div, or this is how to put paddings and margins. You'll memorize that as you go along, and it's very, very easy after that. Awesome. So this is going to be my checkbox. This is a conditional styling such that if the status is complete, I add a strike through the text. Otherwise, leave it alone. And then finally, I have a button that calls on delete, which is a prop that we passed into, so that when you click delete, on delete gets called, which we'll see in our backend, will cause us to delete a task. Yes. And yes, I want to be careful of the syntax. I don't know if it's a preprocessor exactly, because that I know is SCSS and SAS. They are still separate CSS files, whereas this is going into the HTML. So I don't think it's the right word exactly. But we'll do our research on that and get back to you. Awesome. So we're good with task, and then I'm going to move on to our home page. And that includes, we're going to index.js, and then I'm going to copy and paste this again, and I'm going to erase all of main. So now I have nothing in my return, and I'm just going to paste that. There we go. Just fixed that. And then we don't have task defined yet, which means it's complaining about import task from components, not components. It's just task, right? Yeah. Awesome. And now, now let's explain what's happening here. Railway is going to be the font, which we're going to grab. It was here. Oh, I duplicated it. Okay, here. Railway is going to replace Inter as a font. And this is the specific way that Next installs or imports their fonts. And you can get that from any of the Google fonts works in the same way. So if you want to change the aesthetic of what you're making today, feel free to do so. And then moving on to, I put the styling for the percent. So here we have calculation of how much of the percentage has been of the tasks have been completed, and then I wanted it to specifically only be called when we click a button, so that it's not every single edit all of these functions get called upon reload, because that's usually what happens with React when a state or when a state changes or a use effect gets called, it usually updates or reloads the whole page or that whole component. However, in order to avoid too many calls, I wanted to make it from a button on click instead. Awesome. And then next we have input. This is the text box for creating a new task. And the on change, so once you finish changing the text inside the text box, will set the state, which set new tasks we'll need from here. Here. Yeah. So I'm going to get those tasks. So those are the states that I've set for the tasks, the new added task, and the total percentage of tasks completed. Okay, we are going into, oh, and then finally, this is how the tasks are populated. So this one snippet will do all of the tasks at once. So this is our tasks state, which is an array by those brackets. It's an array that has all of the tasks. For every task, make it so that the ID goes into key, the task itself goes into task, and then we had put in our task right here on task completion and on delete, which are going to be right here and right here, which we will define in a little bit. So we have our mapping function right here for our tasks. And I think that's going to be, we will add our styles, and then that's going to be it for our front end. So I'm going to copy and paste this into, that's the same one. And then these are what I added. So I styled the button and the input. I just chose colors and added some margins and padding to keep more space. Let's see. What are you complaining about? No, it's good. There's just nothing to show for now. Okay, now we are going into we're going into the JSON server. Okay, now we're going to run another command in our terminal. It's going to be npm install JSON server. So we're going to add that. We're opening a new terminal, adding that, letting it load for a bit. And we're adding this to package JSON, which is going right here under scripts. And note that here it says pages API todos.json. So I'm going to make that actually exist. So new file, todos.json. Okay. Now that I have, where was I? There. This is saying watch that page using port 3001. So the default that the front end goes to is 3000, which means we can't use that same one for now the back end. We're going to choose the one right after it, 3001, and then put that as our JSON server. I have a question. It's not almost over, but if you want me to slow down, I am more than happy to. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. If I don't hear anyone stopping me in the chat, I'm usually going to go at like the pace that my brain is set. But if you want me to answer any questions or explain anything further, I'm more than happy to. Awesome. We are at JSON server. Awesome. Yeah, we're not almost over. We're at 13. We ended 21. And then we're going to style it different. We're going to answer any questions, etc. We're good. And then we just made our todos.json. And then I'm going to copy and paste this. And I actually used GitHub Copilot to create dummy data for me. So I can do this. If I know that MLH is promoting GitHub Copilot in our mini events. So this is just, I guess, a prequel to that in future hackathons. So using GitHub Copilot, I'm going to say create dummy data in JSON format for tasks include ID, task, headline, and status as a Boolean there so that it'll match the checkbox that we have in our task component. I start with the styling first because I like seeing things visually, but it's at whichever order. Do not worry, we've got plenty of work ahead of us. So we've got this from GitHub Copilot, who gave us 3 tasks with our task deadline, status, and ID. And then we've got that down. We are now going into what's in our API. So this is pretty straightforward to copy and paste. So I'm going to copy and paste it first, and then I'll explain what it's about. I'm going to erase everything that's in hello and replace it with what's here. And that's all 3 of my. So what we have here is 5 functions. We have get all to-dos, which as our function name explains, will get all of the to-do lists, all of the to-do tasks from this URL, wait for it, and then return it. That's just so we can display everything. So if my front end is good, and I'm going to say npm run JSON server, I'm going to open 3001. It's going to be empty, but if I say 3001 to-dos, that's not supposed to be empty. Let's try that again. To-dos, to-dos.json. Because it says tasks, not to-dos. Let's reload that, and there are my tasks in JSON format. Let's zoom that in so you can see it's the same as in the code editor. Awesome. With that, we're going into, so we've got our to-dos. Let's go back to our slides. Oh, we're explaining our API. So we've got get all to-dos. We've explained that just shows all of our tasks. And now we've got update task, which updates an existing task. I think, let's reorder this so that it's easier to explain. Let's do add before update. That makes more chronological sense. Update, update, delete, export. Perfect. So next we've got add task, which creates a task with the date. Oh, the ID is based on the current date and time, so it's unique every time you create a new one. Task is the description, the text that's coming from our text box right here. So this new task is this new task. And what's happening is we get our response, and then we use the fetch function, which is how JavaScript projects do API calls. And then we're going to say method post. We're going to say our headers are a JSON, our content type is a JSON, and then we're going to stringify that task. This is just error handling. And then you can use React hooks as well. I think because React hooks are within use effect, I don't think it'll cover all the functionalities that we're trying to do. Because, oh, I think what you're suggesting is putting those functions within here, right? Within, and then we'll just say use effect like that. I would say that is possible. Like you can do that, but it's not very clean. It's not like you'd have a very bulky homepage like file. So in order to keep everything modular, organized, etc., we want to put it in a fold. And also because Next does a lot of things for you, including routing and API handling. So if I put all of these functions in the API folder, it already knows that it's API purposes, and does some of the manual hook stuff for me. Awesome. So the added task is now added to the JSON, and then we return that new added task. going into update tasks, we're using the fetch now on a specific endpoint. So we used to be until to-dos, but now we're adding task ID for the specific task that we are editing or updating. Same method, same header, same body, and then same error handling. The only thing that changed was which endpoint we're doing. Oh, and the method, sorry, is put, not post. So there's also a change in method. Okay. And then next up we have update task list, which just updates all of the tasks at once so that it checks for if you edited multiple things at the same time. Next up we have delete task, which does the same. That's why I think, right? No, because it's only the ID, because it's separate per to do. Right. The delete is right here, and it's already the ID, which means I don't need to pull specifically the ID from it. So it's only ID. Awesome. And then the method here is delete, error handling, etc. And then this finally is exporting all of those functions so that even if they're in this page, you can use them in another page. So outside, we export from hello.js, and then once we're in index.js, we say import, and then we use the curly braces. And that is because when we, give me 1 second, friends. Take a water break, take a stretch break, take a brain break. I'll be right back. All right, friends, that was a quick break, but if people need time to come back, I would love to hear feedback on what you're getting stuck with so that you can successfully follow along. Oh, it doesn't seem too hard to follow. I will hold on to that feedback, hopefully. But again, I'm very receptive to feedback. So if you want me to slow down or explain more things or type them out, let me know. This might also be like easier to follow when you can pause it, like not live, but we'll see. Let me know. We are at, let's check if our to-dos work right now, because we have our hello JSON. Oh, they're not connected yet. I can't check it yet because our JSON, our hello.js is from the API. So it's on our back end. And now we need our front end to know which pieces to pull. And that's what these next pages are for. So we're gonna need handle task completion, which is going to update our tasks when they're done or not. So we're going into index.js. We're gonna erase this line. We're going to have this function. Something's wrong. Import. We have, what am I importing from hello? These. So I'm importing all of that from index. So we're going into API, not to-dos, hello, there. And now we've got update task list is lighting up because we see that they're being used. And then now we're going to have add task. We're going to have delete task. And then, oh, okay. Let's stick with that for now. And then let's go over explaining what we have so far. So handle task completion is just the checking of the text box of the checkbox so that it updates the state. So we're using set tasks so that these tasks, the state that we're manipulating gets updated. And then updated tasks is a new array or a new, no, updated task is going to be the task. And coming from previous tasks, which is what our state is currently, we're going to map that so that for every task, if that is the ID that we're looking for, if that is the checkbox that we clicked, return that. All of our tasks, all of our previous all of the other information about the task. So that's what these 3 dots mean. And this is saying whatever that status is, change it to whatever it's not. So not task status is just toggling that back and forth from true to false. Otherwise, leave it alone, return task. And then we're saying here update task list, which is calling update task list under our API. And then we're going to return that updated list. And then moving on to our add task. So we're going to clean our input. So we're going to trim it and then make sure it's not empty and add the task to our API, to our JSON. So, okay, let me finish this and then I'll answer your question. So we're going to add the task and then set the tasks so that all of those previous tasks get copied and then added to it is added tasks. And then we're going to set our new task to empty so that it's ready to accept another new task. And then to answer Zibilionic, it would be possible to separate these functionalities, but I think for what it's worth, like these adding the functionalities are the main like purpose of the app. So it would make sense for it to be here, and it's a small enough project that we don't have to be so like modular about it that you could go so far as this is its own file, this is its own file, and then this is its own file. But the purpose of like the scale, the level at which I want to modularize or to split up my files is only until it makes sense. So I have a component that happens over and over, so I redid task, but this one isn't happening over and over, and it's not there isn't any other functionality. Yeah, so if it's not full spaghetti, it you don't have to split it up all the way, but it would make sense like if you see that it's repeating, if you see that it's self-sufficient, like it only works in this one section, or you're repeating this component over and over, those things make sense to split up. But otherwise, it kind of just sounds like you're adding more work to yourself that you may not need to do. Awesome. So going back to, so we've got our handle functions, we've got our tasks, my front end and my back end are both working. Let's check on our page. Let's reload. Use state is not defined because we say import use state from React, and I think I'm also going to need use effect, right? Why is there's something that we did not get from the slides yet. And that is this fetch to-dos. That's why nothing is showing up. So this function is, so use effect happens upon loading the page. And this is saying upon loading, wait for the API to give you back the information and then display that information. I have a console log to check in on things, and then this just calls it. One thing I noted, if you don't want an infinite loop, this is the syntax that you need. So after your use effect, don't just say arrow function use effect. You say comma and then the empty array, and that prevents an infinite loop, calling it over and over again. This one says call it once, that's it. And then let's try again. Calculate percentage completed is not defined because that is right here in the last page. If we're going to paste at the very bottom, and that should cover, there we go. But my text isn't showing, so something else is wrong. So let's try debugging this with our console. I'm going to say console here, and it says my array. Because it says task, not text. Which means I need to replace that text. So I'm going to change this into task. Let's fix that. There we go. And now our toggle works. Our toggle works. So what's happening here is the todos.json is hard coded, but we want it so that when we make changes on our web page or like in our browser, it automatically updates todos.json so that you have a hard coded, like even if your website gets reloaded, these tasks will persist. These tasks will continue. It won't get erased when you reload your page because the cache is gone. In order to do that, let's see. To-dos, task.id. Let's see. Runtime failed to fetch 3001. Maybe. Server's down. I'm watching. Waiting. Commiserating. So right now it's false, and when I click this, it changes to true. And if I click add and say add, that's not right. Because it says text, not task. So I'm going to change these to all say text, and bring back task in here, text, sorry. That was very confusing. All of the words are jumbling together. Let's get ready to rumble. Text, 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 text. There we go. Okay. How do you decide when to use Next or React? So my suggestion is whenever possible, use the updated or the latest technology. In this case, that's Next. If you're working in a hackathon and not everyone knows Next, but most people know React or can learn React, I would suggest use it then. But for personal projects or for when you want to show off or when you want to show your very best, go with the cutting edge technology. Yeah, he got to it before I did. Fast reflexes. That's brilliant. Awesome. So we've got add here as our status, and then we say, let's say, make project, and we say add. And now we have make project here. And then we say true. And then we say true. And then we say delete. And then we say delete. And then we say that. Okay, so it's all functioning now. And now let's try calculate percentage. And now it's 75%. But if I delete this, it should be 66. It is now 66. How do people feel about this? Do I think now, since we finished a little faster, which someone did predict that, I'm open to questions. I'm open to trying different functionalities. I'm open to styling it. The rest of the time is yours. What do you want to learn? First, just break down the files. Okay, love it. We are going into our folders right here. I'm going to leave that. So our folder structure is we have the pages folder. Any file that's in pages, let's say I want to have mlh.js, and then I say basic React, or yeah. So that's going to be my page, right? What happens with Next that it does very well that React doesn't do, if I go to /mlh, that's already a page. Like, I don't need to do React router. I don't need to manually say make a new page for this. It's automatically there. So any the file name that you have, so if I say file name, right? Now this page is gone, but if I say file name, that's the new page. Yeah. And that is, yes, why we say no out app router, because the app router's functionality, it adds another folder here, and you have to work between two folder structures, kind of like how before when we weren't very good at React yet and we worked between public and source at the same time. That's kind of like pages in app. It's confusing. It's like not the rules of like what goes between them is a little confusing. So I figured we're beginners. We should go with what's a little bit easier. Awesome. And then, so that is our pages folder. Going back to the question, another thing here is hello.js was automatically created inside the API folder within pages, and it had a default fetch function. But here, anything you put in an API becomes an API. Like it's kind of like express.js, but all encompassed in here. You don't need to do like use express. You don't need to say use course. All of that is just within this file, as long as you use the same file structure, like the same naming conventions, it knows to do that for you. So I think that's pretty cool, pretty easy, pretty convenient. And then, oh, Another thing here is, so we have app.js and document.js, and they have underscores right before them. And I like to see that as this is root level files. These are not the ones that I would want to touch, because these are getting the global global styling. This is putting the props, the components in, and then document is basically index.html in the React router DOM. That it's similar to that, the page that you don't touch unless you know what you're doing. So any changes that you want to make, don't do it here, do it in index.js. Here is the basic app.js in React. This is the home page, and home is usually what you use for the function here. And then I had said task.jsx. I make my components in JSX so that I can differentiate between components and pages, because I don't think this will work. See, that doesn't work because JSX won't turn into a page. So it I guess won't be as bulky or won't be as messy because it knows not to make that component as page. Let's see. We've got public, which is the same as React's public. You've got the iconography and the SVGs. It was okay. Fair point. I'm going to investigate this. Task.status. I don't think status is in what's our. No, it is. Okay. We are going to. I'm going to do this in an attempt to promote GitHub Copilot. Wait, because I've been doing this while I was building this project. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I just do that, and it reads my entire code base, understands what's wrong, tells me how to fix it, and then gives me the code. I think that's pretty cool. I admit I am getting a little bit lazy because of it, but I feel like if you use it to be more efficient, it's for a good cause, you know? So let's see. The status is undefined. And where does this go? I see. So I add a wrapper in my index so that it doesn't happen unless tasks exists. So if tasks and task length is equal to 0, expression expected. Oh, I can do it this way. Task that started was throwing the error, yeah. I'm trying to. That should be fine. Why is that complaining? I'm having trouble with the closings. So that closes that. So this is unnecessary. And that closes that. And then we're good. Okay. Let's try this again. Fair point. You're right. Good. You're right. Okay. Thank you. I'm going to undo this because I think I just confused myself there. That's a fair point. Thank you for catching that. I'm going to leave that there. And then, yes. So that was a tangent. Do we have, yeah, our thing still works. But do we have any other? Oh, I know what this is. It closed. That's what happened. Let's try this again. There. Yeah, because status wasn't. Yeah, okay, we're good. We're good. We're good. Awesome. Do we have any other questions, concerns, or objections or suggestions? What else can we do with our project today? Order change. Okay. My concern with that is the drag and drop won't be very easy to do because when I'm envisioning the functionality such that if we do, gosh, there, if we let's say drag this here, it would edit this to be 3 and this to be 2. Drag isn't necessary. You can just put arrows. It's a little janky, but I can see we can add like up and down arrows, and then the up will add 1 to the ID, and then down will subtract to the ID. We could do that. Another thing that I'm thinking about is that what we had said earlier in here is once was the date, and we already have in our functionality the deadline. So we could do something around that functionality maybe. Let's see. You could also animate a completion screen using Framer. That'd be cool. Let's try. This would have been cool, friends. This is what I would have wanted. That's what I want. This is what I want. Shoot. That's exactly what I want. How do I get the code for this? Oh, there it is. So let's do npm install React Canvas confetti. And then maybe we can edit this a little to increase our particle count. How do you? Auto run. That's beautiful. I love it. I want it. So let's go to index main.tsx app. Let's try maybe a component called confetti.jsx and then import fireworks. So what I'm doing now to keep you guys in the loop is styling the confetti so that, let's see, we are getting fireworks and we want tailwind. Yes, tailwind, not strike through, but it'll get us there. Position fixed. I'm going to translate these into tailwind. So fixed position fixed. So I just say fixed. And then pointer events none. And then wow. That makes me so happy. Pointer events width. Where's 100%? Width is full. What else? Height is full. What else? Okay. So we're saying top 0 and left 0. And then we're going to close this. We already have that. So and we're going to export default function confetti. Now we can use confetti. I'm going to cheat a little. How do I trigger the calculate percentage? Let's full screen this and look a little deeper. So we're going to need confetti imported. Right now, I already have the checking for the status if it's completed or not. That is under calculate percent completed. Now I only need to check if it's at 100, show the confetti. So let's go ahead and do that. And then change our calculate percentage. And then I need a trigger. Perfect. Let's try this now. Fireworks didn't go. Okay, so console log. What we're doing now is console logging so that we can check what's wrong and why it's not showing up. Set show confetti. Maybe show confetti isn't being shown yet. Yeah. See? I didn't even put confetti on my page. Let's try it there. And then the show confetti component has a start prop. So going into confetti, it's asking for start. That's not the question. Maybe I can do that. Define the start prop for confetti. Turning down the speed of the confetti. Okay. But we're only doing it for 10 seconds, so maybe. Will it stop? Has it been 10 seconds? Let's see. It won't stop when it's. So let's add in hello. No, sorry, in index. And I'm going to say this is 5 seconds instead of 10 seconds. Let's reload that. It's showing even before it's ready or before we click calculate percentage, which means this. Start false. Yeah, that's what I did. Auto run start. That's not the way, but that was very interesting to see. Crash. I'm not going to try it. We should add an if statement for rendering. What I'm trying to do now is not a delay, but it should only pop when this is already at 100. So when I click this and it says 100, that's when it should go. But before that, it shouldn't. But right now, it's defaultly showing. Auto run, speed, duration. Well, that kind of does it. That kind of counts. So I'm going to remove my cross. You did that. Does anyone have any questions, concerns, clarifications, objections regarding our project so far? I don't know how to fix the confetti yet. Right. Let's see. Oh, so when you're done, the recordings are on YouTube. So I will put the link of all of our videos after they're done being recorded will be up here. And actually, excuse me, we already have the recording right here. Awesome. So if you need more of that, that's right there for the recording. Let's keep show confetti. We already have that. Show confetti. We already have calculate percentage. Yes, we already have that. Let's try this. That's good. That's good. Let's try this again, friends. Oh. Okay, okay, okay. 33. 100. Nothing, nothing, nothing. So it's not... That's not starting at all. Let's try something else. The function is calling set show confetti. Oh, that is in right here. Set show confetti is a state, or is a set state function. Right there. So So 100. So we just need to check the state to conditionally render the confetti yes. So that's what we're trying to do right now, which is right here, and set show confetti true and false, and then turn off after 5 seconds. Sorry, not 10. It should say 5 right here. And then I think I understand what you're saying, but I don't understand how we can do that. So let's try. In confetti, the auto run shouldn't say start. Auto run should say fall. I don't think you can not have a property and then suddenly have a property after like a while. It has to have a default value for it to be changed. So I don't know how this could be done. So fireworks in the confetti. So fireworks is the name of the preset. So we're using this thing called fireworks. They call it fireworks, but the colors are totally confetti. So I call it that. So their fireworks is right here. I think we might have a solution here if this is a triggered one. Once, see? Once. So let's go to no source app.tsx, and then what happens on once? Conductor.shoot on run. Pause. But where do we get conductor? That's a different one. That would require something different. Auto run. Yeah, we didn't. What else do we have here? We can't do the conductor, but let's try. Let's see. Pride, snow explosion. What's this one? I'm trying out different examples to see if one of them might spark a solution. That's way more fun. But I don't think it gives us the syntax that we're questioning either way. Let's try. Let's try this. Let's try that. Let's try that. Okay, so I'm going to, this is going in index. That's going in here. But the conductor instance is in TypeScript, so I need that, but in JavaScript. Um, so I just leave that blank. Okay, that doesn't make any sense because this use state is saying this is how I get. I'm confused about how to set the conductor as the type conductor if it's not TypeScript. So let's look for a JavaScript example. Yeah, so that's what I'm confused about. It sounds like a TypeScript thing, but we're using JavaScript, and I don't think we can use TypeScript in JavaScript, so I'm trying to say it in JavaScript, but I don't. This functionality of making a use state a certain type is not found in JavaScript. So my confusion continues. I think on init might be something we can explore because it's a callback, so we could say start at a certain condition using that. We might need to use a different function, is what that last thing was saying. Can you use a hook to create a use state in JS? Yes, that is what we did right here. So we have a use state that says show confetti and set show confetti. And then we called that in calculate percentage completed right here, where we say if the percentage is 100, set show confetti to true, otherwise leave it alone as false. That is very brute force, and I applaud you for wanting to try it that way, but I don't think that is the way that I will be doing things. That sound like, because we already did all this work. Plus, we are trying to be beginner friendly, which means, I don't know, sticking with JavaScript. Anywho, if we get stuck with this one, I might call it quits because the point is to make it beginner, like the beginner friendly part of it is completed anyway. Let's go back and see if everything runs fine. Let's erase things we added. Okay. No worries at all. I think we've completed what we set out to complete anyway. We have a task, we have a to-do list, it deletes, it edits, it adds. We have a percentage of how much our tasks are completed. So if you want to say like homework 1, homework, wait, homework 2, and homework 3, we'll know that we have that much left to do. I do want to change that. How do we change? so that the percentage is down to 2 decimal places. Two fixed 2. Stop. So 2 fixed 2 is going total tasks. Okay. There. And then we say we finished homework 1. It adds, delete. We're good. Awesome. It is GitHub Copilot. If you have GitHub Developer Student Pack, you have access to GitHub Copilot. So if you have your student ID or your student email, you have access to GitHub Copilot. So check that out when you get the chance. And then, yes, if you have any other questions, concerns, objections, let me know. But otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in and watching how we make a to-do list using Next.js. Thank you, friends. Bye-bye. Thank you for coming.